Oh, ain't that neat? There you go. Well, we are good for another year with the passport. Go figure. Just renewed my work permit? No, my residence, my visa once again. And I'm now downtown in the CBD area. That is the building that you have to go into on the 4th floor there to renew in the Guomao district, or the Guomao neighborhood, I guess you could say. A couple weeks ago, I posted a video, Is China Safe? And in it, I talked about how it's relatively safe walking around here. It's not too bad being in Beijing and in China. Now, in that video, I had to mention the caveat. It's like I live in Chaoyang district, particularly in Shuangjing district, which is a very nice area that has a lot of, I guess you would say, Western influenced stuff. Not just for foreigners, but for Chinese people who may or may not have been overseas as well, or who might want that sort of style of stuff as well. I'm talking like food, clothing, etc. However, since that video was made, there's actually been some incidences of people getting knifed, but not to dwell on that and not to make a sequel to that video. But one other question that sort of comes up quite a bit, and one of the search terms that has led people to that video, is, why did I come to China? However, the problem with asking why did I come to China, it kind of skips over a bunch of stuff. And I think the more important question is, why am I still in China? 10 years. 10 years as of, what, September 17th, 2024? Lots of other places I could go. Teach English in just about anywhere. Qualified for it, I guess. To answer the question, why did I come to China? For a job. For money. And it responded. And by that I mean, when I applied for, or back in 2013 actually, 2014, when I was back in my hometown, I was working in a warehouse. And this was after a lot of other travels that I'd done. China is country number 34 for me, and the 4th or 5th country that I've lived in. So when I went back to my hometown, kind of had a bit of an issue. Not only was I well traveled, I was poor, I had no money, but I was also rather educated. So I just had to get a job, whatever, doing temp work, as I had done around the world. Well, be it teaching English, working on farms, or whatever. So I was working in this warehouse, putting stickers on boxes, and I'd like to say that I was the highest educated, lowest paid employee. But I don't know for a fact that I was the highest educated, because who's more educated? Someone with a high degree, or a high sounding degree, or someone who sticks with something for a long time? And a lot of those warehouse workers, they'd been there for a while. But that was the point at which I was like, okay, I know I don't want to be in this situation. How can I change it? What could I change? Well, it was, let's go back to teaching English. But I don't want to teach kids. I've made that pretty clear on the channel as well, that if I was going to go back to teaching English, it was going to be at the university level or somewhere around there. I didn't want to teach in schools. I didn't want to be in a public school. I wanted to do something a little higher, I guess, a little different. And so what I did was start looking for places, countries, where my education would be put to better use rather than putting stickers on boxes. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So getting back into teaching English, what countries would take me? What levels were available? Where could I make the money? And where was the easiest to get to? Picked out a few regions. I was like, well, could I go back to South Korea? The problem with South Korea was that it'd be more teaching of kids, more than likely. Japan with the JET program, Japan's English teaching program, kind of difficult to get into. China, however, I'd heard a lot about it, and never been a place I'd been to other than Taiwan. And I remember in Taiwan, of all places, I was staying at a hostel. I met this one guy who was an English teacher. He was living in the hostel, paying 3,000 Taiwanese dollars per month, I think, or something. Nah, it was cheap. Let's put it that way. It was cheap. And he'd been living in the hostel with this little curtain across his bed, and he taught English in a school. So he's making money working overseas. I thought that was kind of neat. Not that that really inspired me, but it did show that you could do it anywhere. This is a nice day out. China wasn't my only option. So eliminating Japan, eliminating South Korea. I also looked into the Middle East. Dubai, Oman, Qatar. Qatar responded. Good research on Oman, but Dubai and Saudi Arabia and places like that seem to be a little bit more difficult. More like you had to be a little bit more qualified than I was at the time. Prior to coming to China, I did not have a CELTA, so I was qualified. I taught English, but I have a master's degree in ancient history, nothing related to learning languages directly, particularly the English language. So in applying for these jobs, it became clear that I was going to have to level up, get my education game on again, go get certified. And that's why I went to go do the CELTA. Actually, when I got the job offer from China, from the university, that's when they said, well, you have to go get the CELTA certificate in order for us to give you the job, which I passed. Had I not passed, I was already in China at that time. I think what would have happened instead is I would have just had to go do it again, basically. So I'll pay for it again, do it in Beijing, and then everything would be all good to go. Imagine living in these apartments. These would be stupidly expensive. So you might wonder, how did I get the job in China? Like, how did I find it? Well, I went to Wikipedia, typed in Chinese universities, found a bunch, lots, all over the place. Checked out a few websites, checked out their English programs, their ESL, their faculty, etc., and picked out a few in different cities to apply for. I don't remember exactly why I picked Beijing, but I think it was along the lines of, it was just there, it was easy. I didn't know much about China, to tell you the truth. I can argue that I still don't. I will walk through CBD. So whether it was Beijing or Shanghai, I wasn't sure. I mean, which one I was exactly going to go to, but I picked out Beijing, emailed a few universities, and one of them responded. That was good. So, started the application procedure, and they kept in touch. And I think this was a very important part of the whole application process, was that they were communicating. It didn't drop, it didn't lag, which means that they were interested. And of course, I mean, I had to keep interested as well. From the time that I found that university to the time I actually got into China, it was 9 months. In that time, stopped the warehouse position, went to go work at Home Depot. If you're in Canada, you should know what that is, and same with the United States. But only as a temp in the garden center in springtime. So I did that. I did temp work again a little bit in Canada. But then there was a wedding that took place near Montreal in Quebec in June of that year, or July. And so it was at that point where I decided, well, if I'm going to go to if I'm going to go to China and I'm going to get the CELTA, then I'm not going back to my hometown. Once I leave, I'm gone. It wasn't very emotional. It was sort of in the works for a long time. Did I know anything about the culture of China? Yeah, I knew it existed. I knew that Chinese was difficult, and I had no interest in learning the language. Before I came here, nope. When I touched down, still nope. I'd put a token effort to learn some Chinese, but we're nothing like I was doing later on. The people, I didn't really know any Chinese people in Canada. I'm just thinking, going through my friends list, I mean, I knew Indians, I knew a lot of Ukrainians, I mean, all the other cultures. My hometown's kind of famous for its multiculturalism, but Chinese people, no, not too many. Not that I can remember. Big, tall glass buildings, aren't they? So to answer the question directly, why China? It's because it was available. They were communicative, they were open, and it was easy to come into, relatively speaking. Now, part two of that is, why have I stayed in China for so long? 10 years. Is it the food? Is it the people? Is it the culture? Is it the language? Is it the job? Is it the money? Is it the what? Well, job, basically because of the money. The coronavirus had something to do with it as well, since that kind of locked me into the country, into the city, into my compound. Meaning, I was either in or I was out. You couldn't be both. There wasn't a lot of travel. And before the coronavirus had arrived, I guess I'd been in my current job for about 2.5 years. You're probably doing the math. Steve, you got here 2014. How many jobs have you had? Only 2. And to tell you the truth, I do continue to look for other jobs, but as I think I've made clear in other places or on this channel, I don't want to pack my apartment, and so I kind of stay in the same place. 2014, I was working at a university. It was good, I liked it. Events happened in 2017 that I couldn't continue, and I went back to Canada for 6 months. And there was sort of the first sort of decision. Actually, it wasn't very much a decision. At that point, my father had passed away, and I went back to Canada, and I had to deal with the fallout of that. Why did I come back to China, and why didn't I stay out? Well, for one, all my stuff was still in China. All of it. So I had to come back and get it eventually. Not only that, looking around at different places, I actually thought about going to India for a while. There's no money. Difficult to get into. Another setup. And I was thinking, since all my stuff is in China, I'm gonna have to go back anyway. Do I go back to the same job, or do I get a different job? Well, let's get a different job. So I got a different job. This one was paying a lot more busy. It was working, traveling. So it was a little bit more diverse and more of a variety than teaching in a university classroom. So I guess part of that distracted me from living in China, I guess, or gave me another experience of living in China. Not to say that the university experience was bad, not at all. With the 6 weeks off, 8 weeks off, winter, summer, I was actually able to do quite a few train trips around China, notably Beijing out to Kasha, through Xinjiang, Beijing all the way up to Harbin, Beijing all the way down to Xianggang, Hong Kong, and other places. So it was a good experience to be able to move around the country the way I could during the time off from the university. Is it just the money that keeps me here now? Mostly, yes. Might shock some people, but Steve, what about your girlfriend? WTF, what about your lovely girlfriend? You're right. She is a consideration, but in all honesty, I think if she saw saw that I could make more money somewhere else, she'd be like, don't forget to remit some money back here. I think that's how that conversation would go on. Of course, I joke a little bit, but it kind of goes along those lines of, it's been easy to live, it's been lucrative in many regards, and there are things to do. So what do I mean by there are things to do? If you think about some of the things that you do in your homelands, your home cities, or wherever you are, you might start taking them for granted. But when you move somewhere else, particularly move to a different country, they take on a new meaning because you have to figure out how to do them. Or moreover, you have to discover them. Not everybody is going to be able to tell you exactly what to do as an expat. For example, where do you find the best burger in town? Okay, that one's easy. How do you use the share bike system? Okay, you'll figure that out as well. What about banking? That one's difficult. How do you deal with a bank transfer when you don't know the language? A little bit more difficult. Programs, applications, shopping, okay, these are all sort of part of the natural process. But what about retirement savings? What about job security? What about benefits? You start looking at these things and being a little bit more cautious, or at least aware of what's on offer and what you should be offered, either as an expat or as an employee. Luckily, China has developed quite a bit over the years that employers, especially those for expats, offer attractive benefits. Health insurance, travel insurance, lots of other sort of benefits, like matching pensions. There's no real retirement savings though, other than the pension. So that means you're basically on your own. And so other amenities would be something along the lines of being able to trade stocks, buy property, real estate. That's probably the easiest one. So things like that, where you're able to do stuff that you do back in your homelands as well. Buy a house, own the house, buy stocks, earn money without working every single day of your life, even though as an English teacher, you're basically going to be anyway. I've done a full circle. I don't know. You might wonder, Steve, why'd you learn Chinese? Was it just because you were in China? Such a difficult language, and it is. Horribly difficult. It takes you a long time. Especially if you didn't grow up in the culture. I didn't. But one of the reasons, and don't tell my colleagues this, that I learned Chinese is to get away from the break room banter, the break room venting that went on at the job that I was at. I'll leave that one to be a mystery. I want to get away from the break room banter and the complaining that went on with it. Now, there's something to be said about that you do need some time to vent, to let steam off and stuff like that. But since we were in China, since we were working and traveling so much, I figured there had to be a better use of my time. Not only that, studying Mandarin Chinese in the evening for an hour every week or 2 hours every week wasn't going to cut it. It's not a language you can half-ass. You got to commit. And by commit, I mean you got to learn the characters, you got to learn the pronunciation, you got to learn the vocabulary. Forget the grammar. You don't need the grammar. I mean, at some point you'll have to, if you want to hit spy level, yeah, you'll have to learn grammar. Moreover, it's just pronunciation and vocabulary, so you can talk around all the things that you don't know. But to do that, to even read a simple sign in China, requires a decent level of character knowledge, which means you have to learn the characters. And that isn't easy. You have to look at these things, write them out. You don't even have to know how they're put together or constructed in the sense of like the history of them. But what you do have to know is you have to understand there's no relationship between the pronunciation and the character. And sometimes the meaning changes as well. That is to say, when they combine two characters or three characters, doesn't always mean that they carry the meaning, the weight of the meaning that they did before. So this provided a bit of a, I guess, a huge distraction from any of the frictions. And not only that, frictions at work, I should say. What it also enabled me to do was lessen the friction between myself, my understanding of the people and their culture and their language, and enable me to talk more and ask questions about things in the country. Whether it was in Beijing, whether it was in Harbin, whether it was in a taxi at the airport station, or visa office or bank. Knowing the characters, studying the characters, developing the vocabulary enabled me to actually say the words, which then allowed me to communicate with the people, even though sometimes I was still very nervous about talking sometimes. Joba, Chiba. So learning the characters took quite a while. Distracted me, got me away from some of the negative feedback that can happen in the break room banter, and I'm sure you're aware of it too. It happens at a lot of jobs. But then it also eased the friction around the country because I was able to communicate and read a whole lot more. I mean, I still wasn't able to understand everything, podcasts or read newspapers or even watch movies, to tell you the truth. But it did enable me to be able to talk just a little bit more, which helped settle in just a little bit more. In terms of money, yeah, it's good. Partially because of the industry that I'm in, and the pandemic sort of squeezed the industry quite a bit, meaning that if you stuck around, the amount of work actually went up for you because fewer people were there to do it. In terms of food, I don't know how often I eat pure Chinese food, as I call it, as it's made by my girlfriend's mother. So I eat that about once, maybe twice a week. Other than that, if it's not takeout, some Chinese food, then it's going to be food that I make at home, Western style steaks or tuna sandwiches, my current favorite. Then it's going to be my Chinese food delivery. Life quality, again, I live in Beijing. Lots of stuff goes on here. The funny thing about living in a city like Beijing is that, actually no, scratch that. The funny thing about being an expat for so long, especially in a getting older one, not that that really affects things too much. But the longer you stay in one place, the less you go out. You do the things, and I actually encourage you, if you ever become an expat or travel, to go do all the touristy things right away. Just get them out of the way. Go to Tiananmen Square, go to Gugong, the Forbidden City, go to the Great Wall, go to the Hutongs, do all that stuff right away. Do it fast, because as the pressures of work mount, as you get tired from working, and on the weekend you'll just want to sit down and chill out and not go anywhere, that'll hit you hard too. It's a real thing. Surprise, surprise. The life of an expat isn't just drinking and partying all the time and hanging out with beautiful people. Shocks of shocks, I know. Steve, you're doing it wrong. I guess that's one way to look at it. So do the touristy stuff, get it out of the way, so you can check those boxes, do your traveling, because you will get tired, just as you would back in your hometown. Even though it won't seem like it, you still will. What about the people? Ah, yes, the Chinese people. They're interesting. They're interesting. The amount of times I've been stared at pre 16-inch beard, I couldn't even count it. Number of times I've been called a monkey, white people, rich, just because I guess, relatively speaking, I do make more than most average Chinese people do, which is very true, you can't deny that. What is the expat premium though? I've never felt really threatened, except for one time, and yeah, usually when I go to Xinjiang, there's usually some issue that pops up at some point, usually with someone in uniform. Most other places, people are pretty calm, relaxed, and as I've mentioned on the channel before, the more of the language you learn, the more you're able to break down that barrier between you and them, which enables you to, when people are staring at you going, WTF is that bearded white monkey man doing here, you're like, bruh, sup? Do you have a job? Are you working right now? Are you taking a break? You wanna get a coffee or a beer? Menu. Need a Weixin. Get what need a Weixin. Beautiful woman, give me your WeChat. Which they'll usually say, 帅哥,你可以给我你的微信? Handsome brother, will you give me your WeChat? Which is typically what they do. It's handing out WeChat numbers is like drinking water here. Like, you either take your pick between Nongfu Shui or Yibao Shui, but pretty much you're gonna drink water anyway. That's what the WeChat number is. Don't think you're special. Sorry, gentlemen. Which building is this? I can't remember. So to sort of summarize all of this, like why did I come to China? Why have I stayed in China for so long? It's been the work. It's been the ease of living. There's one memory I do have of January 2015 when I was here. It was the first time I went to Great Leap Brewing, Dayue Pijiu. And it was my introduction to the craft beer scene. My hometown didn't have a craft beer scene back in those days. Now they're all over the place. But it hit China, and it hit it pretty good. And I can say that it was the foreigners typically that were starting up these craft breweries here in Beijing. Great Leap, Jing'e, Slow Boat. What was the other one? What was the fourth one? Oh goodness. Arrow Factory. That was the one. Arrow Factory, Jing'e, Great Leap, and Slow Boat. Four big ones that I remember that I think are still around. There's also Beersmith, but I don't think Beersmith is as good. But don't tell them that, they might get upset. Take a look. Tall towers. International Finance Towers. Life has gotten easy, especially with WeChat and Alipay. Although my current issue with WeChat is that it's locked to an old passport, which means I can't update the information, which means I can't receive or send money through the application. So I have to use Alipay for everything. Part of the problem with everything being digital and so secure is that it's so secure you can't change it. I think I have to get a letter from the embassy explaining why I don't have my old passport. So, ease of living. It's cheap-ish, although Beijing is expensive. Food's good. People are good. And they do have a sense of humor. And for all the people that like to bring up all the sort of the negative sides of China and its news media glory, when you meet some of the Chinese people and hear how they're dealing with things as well, you have a new appreciation for it all of a sudden. Oh, it smells like a toilet here. Yeah. I should reiterate that if you do come to China and you choose to live in a big city like Beijing or Shanghai Guangzhou, Chongqing, you're gonna have a very different experience than living in other cities. I've briefly touched on the different tiers of cities in China before, but different tiers will have a very different living experience for the expat. Beijing will be different from Zhengzhou, will be different from Harbin, will be different from Xi'an, will be different from Chengdu. The pandas are in Chengdu. And then of course, any other smaller city, oh, that's a whole different adventure altogether. You might learn Chinese better, probably far better than I ever would. This is Beersmith. One of the breweries. I think I might head over to Jing'e. So all in all, would I recommend people come to China? Yeah, for sure. I'd actually say come on over, visit, whether it's 144 hours or if it's years, 144 months, something 144 days or 144 months. All fine. If you're looking for work, there is work to be had in China. You don't just have to teach English. There are lots of different positions, whether it's in management, whether it's in ESL, whether it's import, export, business, lots of positions available. Basically anything you think can happen, you could probably make it happen here in China. Most things, not everything. And would you want everything to happen? And I should say that again, living in a big city like Beijing, with the comforts of the Western world, be it sandwiches, craft beer, or Starbucks. Being an expat is a little bit different than just staying in your hometown or living in your home country and bouncing around there. I'm sure some people, I'm sure there are some similarities. I chose to leave. It was easier for me to leave than for me to stay in my hometown. Easier to leave Canada than to stay in Canada. Money considerations, life considerations, and fun considerations. Think of your Wikipedia. Think of your Wikipedia page, man. Think of your biography. What are people going to say about you when you're gone? And of all harsh realities, whatever they do say about you, whatever you want to do, you got to go do it, because no one's going to go through your hard drives and do it for you. Let's go to Jing'e. Boom, found it. This opened up just as the coronavirus was kicking off. We got to go through the other one because it's winter. Come to China? Yes. Work in China? Yes. Live in China? Yes. Learn Mandarin Chinese? Good luck. It's difficult. Money? Same all over the place. Still have to make it, keep it, put it to work for you. But yeah, overall it's been pretty good. Whether I'll be here for another 10 years? Wow. Then again, I think I said I was going to be here for 2 or 3 years and I'm still here. How's this for a mall? All right, folks. Thanks very much for watching. I'm gonna let you guys go. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And by all means, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, drop them in the comments below. I'll get back to you and hopefully answer some of them in a way that gives you some guidance if you're looking to come to China or live and work anywhere else in the world. We have Daolid, my pangyos. And by the way, you don't have to drink alcohol. You don't have to. Alcohol does not necessarily help you learn a language. And Jing'e has non-alcoholic beer as well. So that's one of the reasons I still go here. Thanks, folks. We'll do this again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.